Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Tahir Dhindsa and you're watching SDTV. Injustice, lack of justice, or justice which is not available, it's a very major issue. Most of the income is held, or the money or the assets are held by minority of people at the top, and the rest of world is forced to live a life which is often below poverty. And obviously one of the instrument that creates that is debt, because you take debt and they give debt, and that is the main issue we all know. Major empires fell down because of this issue. Like Spain was a superpower, it couldn't pay the debt, and we all know what happened. England was a major superpower, and when the debt was major issue, they fell down. They were no more superpower. Soviet Union, because of the monetary reason, not as a war. Now the US is also on the brink of teetering at the brink. So it's a major issue. It's a human right issue. But in Pakistan, expensive electricity or power is also an issue. So energy transition is also akin very close to this issue. So we have today with us very prominent guest, Miss Lidy Nacpil. She's from Philippines and she's coordinator of Asian People's Movement on Debt and Development. Ma'am, very warm welcome.
Thank you very much.
What do you say about this just energy transition? And one of the issue we all know that major reserve currency of the world, which is dollar, is pegged to hydrocarbons.
Yes.
So
Yes. Well, of course, the just energy transition, we're referring to the transition from fossil fuel energy systems to renewable energy systems. And actually, one of the big problems of fossil fuel energy systems, that's why we want to transition away from it, is because for many countries in the world, it's imported fuel.
Important, yeah.
And to import, you need foreign currency. And that has been one of the major drivers of debt for many countries. Pakistan, Philippines, where I come from. Of course, there's also many urgent climate reasons why we want to move away from fossil fuels, because of the greenhouse gas emissions, which is largely caused by the energy system and is causing the climate crisis. And Pakistan has suffered tremendously from the climate crisis, like the Philippines. So we want this transition quickly, but we're also emphasizing we want it to be just, because we know since our economic systems are dependent on fossil fuels, to transition away may mean potentially a lot of dislocation for workers associated with the fossil fuel industry, for instance, for communities whose livelihoods will be are still dependent, or for countries, for instance, which draw a lot of their public revenues from the fossil fuel system. Neighboring countries like Indonesia, who depend a lot on their coal industry. So we're saying that this transition should be done in a just manner, where workers and communities will not be abruptly disrupted, where alternative jobs and livelihoods will be prepared for them, where economies have to be planned to be diversified so they no longer depend on these fossil fuel industries. So we're saying it cannot be abrupt and chaotic. It has to be planned and managed so that justice and the human rights of people and communities can be at the heart of that process.
The year before, the last year, the Nobel Prize was given to a book, Why Nations Fail. And they suggest that there should be some creative destruction to clear the way. Do you think in this energy, when we are on a fire, there should be some creative destruction? And if at all it has to be, then there should be some planning for that and how to do it.
Well, it will actually be a major disruption and a destruction of the old system that needs to take place. A disruption because, of course, if the world is so dependent and addicted on a type of fuel, to transition away is going to be a disruption. That's why it has to be managed well. And the management of it should be guided by that sense of justice and human rights and respect for human rights. That's why we're urging governments to lead, because it cannot just be something that is left to the markets for the markets to, use market instruments simply to have this transition has to be well managed and planned.
Right. So, what is happening right now, a war very close to Pakistan in the West Asia is going on. And the prime reason seems to be oil. And, the US and President Trump has said that we want oil. In Iraq, it was that. In Libya, oil was. We talk about the regime change and the stoppage of war, but nobody talks about the oil. That has been captured.
That has to be mentioned because it's not like simply a story of how the war is affecting oil and gas prices. It's how many wars have been fought.
For
and oil is at the back of that. It's the control of oil sources and control of oil markets. It's behind this. So collectively, it's called the resource wars. No, seemingly it's because of political conflicts and so on. But of course, the political conflicts are there because of the competition for control of this very much needed, in their terms, resources. And so the world will be a much more peaceful place if we no longer have to depend on oil.
Yeah. So how do you plan or you look forward for a peaceful transition, planned and peaceful transition without conflict? And what are the ways?
Well, upcoming this month is a first of its sorts conference that the governments of Colombia and the Netherlands are convening. It is an international conference for the transition away from fossil fuels. And I'm mentioning that because international cooperation is necessary for this global cooperation, for this to be managed well, because we're living in economies that are not isolated from each other. The value chain of gas and oil and fossil fuel is global. So we need that approach. One layer of an approach is this cooperation among nations. So we hope this conference is going to make a huge step forward for establishing stronger cooperation among governments who have explicit commitment to the transition. Not all governments have been invited, only those that have made this very strong commitment. I heard more than 50 have already confirmed participation. The other thing is, of course, nationally, our government should have the political will to come out with national plans, because the plans have to be national. Each country has its own set of conditions and challenges to face. Of course, across the South, many challenges are common, similar. So there's cooperation on the basis of that. But national plans have to be developed. And on the basis of the national plans, then, mutual, multilateral arrangements can be made. So we're optimists, I guess. We know how hard it is going to be. But for those of us who are from global South countries, we know our people and communities are suffering. So we don't have any choice but to pursue this in a planned, peaceful, and managed way.
Right. Last question. Very deep faith on some narrative is called religion. Religion is a complete faith on a narrative. When a narrative is developed and the public, by and large, has faith on it, they make it happen. Like the big religion. When they start feeling that the Jesus Christ or the Christianity spread like anything, and same because of the faith, the other Abrahamic religion, all other religions. So how to develop that narrative around this just energy transition? How to proceed? Because ultimately the end result of all these conferences and the way we talk to each other is to establish how to do that.
Well, in Christianity, there is what is called the spread of the good news. That is what Jesus Christ was going about his way, spreading the good news, and then his 12 disciples did it after. And so that's what we must do. We need to spread the good news that solutions are there.
Yeah.
It's not just suffering and despair. There's already too much of that. I think one of the things we need to be able to do effectively is to spread the good news that there are solutions to these problems we are facing.
Right. So it's going to take 300 years
Oh, I hope not.
Because Jesus Christ, in case of Christianity, that took 300 years.
Yeah, but the spread
And
of
one day,
Christianity was fast.
The Roman Empire accepted that faith.
Yeah. Well, I hope it will not. We do not have 300 years.
Okay.
I think we'll have less than 2 decades.
2 decades.
To make
So
sure.
3 decades is that one is already but 2 decades now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think if it happens, it might
But Jesus Christ started with 12 people. We are
12.
Starting with
more than it.
much more than 12, right? So we should be able to do it more quickly than 300 years.
So last question, it just came to my mind, and I'm going to ask you: do you think that world can bear or tolerate 2 more decades because of this climate?
No.
Do we have that time?
We have.
You know,
we're
these
on the
rains
brink.
you are visiting here in Islamabad is unusual because
We
the
will
harvest
know.
of wheat is there and it's
Yeah.
being destroyed. It's unusual climate right now.
Yeah. We don't have 2 decades. We have less than 2 decades to make sure the world is on track and is rapidly doing what it should. Actually, we have far less, because if the world continues to delay action, in 5 years, we can forget about keeping it below 1.5 degrees. So you need to move the goalpost now to maybe 2 degrees or 2.5 degrees. And every fraction of a degree movement of the goal means hundreds of millions of lives in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have to work harder and faster.
Thank you very much. So the bottom line is that the time is less and work is more. And everybody has to do the work, which is his homework, for his part. And if everyone is convinced, I think, talking on this issue and spreading this issue quicker than what we are doing that is the only way. So I think this narratives and the way we talk contributes a little bit and moves toward. I hope it is, and in time. With this, we come to the end of the program. Bye for now.